Okay, in this lesson you're going to be working on customizing your slides. There are a lot of things you can do that will make your presentation stand out, and customizing things is one way to do it. So let's look at a sample presentation here and see some of the things you can do. Well, for one thing, notice that we have a background here that is rather plain. Okay, now that's fine. Okay, a lot of times what you want is something plain. You don't want it to be distracting. But there are some things you can do if there's some particular reason you would like to customize it. You could insert a picture as the background. Let's see how to do that. What I'm going to do is I right-click on the slide content somewhere. Okay. Now I want to be careful that I'm not selecting an item. So you see here, this title section here has been selected. So I'm going to go up here to an empty area, right-click, and then notice that this comes up. There's an option here to format background. That's the one I want. So when I click that, this comes up. Okay, and there are several options here. There's the fill option, so that basically you're filling this slide with something. You can fill it with different colors. Here's where you can select a color that you want it to be. A gradient, which means it's going from one color to another. This is rather complicated, but you can figure out ways that you can, there are different presets, but you can change how the colors merge, how they go from one to another. You can pick out things like that. You can do a pattern, okay, where you can pick out some different patterns and say, okay, I want it to be that, or here's bubbles or diamonds or something like that. Okay. You can do a picture or a texture. Okay, in this case, there's a texture, and you can choose from a bunch of them here. Here's one that looks like crinkled up paper. You can have that. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can insert a picture. Notice here there's picture or texture, so if you insert it from a file, click there, and here's pictures. Okay, you can just find pictures wherever, and let's say that you want to have this cat as your background for your slide. You select that, and there's the cat as the background. Okay, so you can play around with this. You can do a lot of different things with it. You can do things to the picture. You can make it more dull. If you want it to be out of focus, you can do that. You can have it sharper. A lot of different things you can play around with it. You can make it darker or brighter. If it's too bright, it just washes out. You can play around with the color. You can do some artistic effects to it, such as here's one here that makes it look like a mosaic. So you can play around with those things. Okay. Notice one other thing down here. You can reset it so it just goes back to the regular, or you can apply to all. See, right now it's just this one slide that is going to be like that. But if I click apply to all, then all of my slides are going to have that same background. Okay. So that's one thing you can do with the backgrounds. So let's close that. So here's some other things though you can do. And these involve, let's say that I want this title here to be bigger. Okay. Well, you can, on this slide, you can go up here and you can select the text and you can increase the size. Okay. But you notice that only changes this one slide. This one is now 66 point, but the next slide is not like that. Okay, you go down here, this is 48 point. So it didn't change all of them. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe you just want one of them to be different. But there's a way that you can change all of your slides. You don't want to have to go through every slide if you say, well, I want all the headings to be bigger. That's where you get into the master slide. And to get to the master slide, go up here to the View tab, because you're viewing the slide master. Now here's where you can make changes that will affect all of your slides. So if I say, okay, I want this heading, instead of it being 44 point, I want it to be 18 point. Okay. If I do that, then when I go over here to Slide Master and close the Master View, now you see this heading is small. If I go back to my Slide Master and I change this to a different font altogether, so I can change it to something really weird here. Let's change it to that, and we'll make it larger so we can see it. Okay. Now, notice that my slides look like that. So you can change the master slide, and it will change all of the slides that are based on that master. Okay. You can change fonts, you can change different things with that. Another thing you can do is with the pictures that you have. You can make them, you can add different things to them. Click on a picture, go up here to Picture Tools to Format, and you can see different things you can do. Like you can add a shadow to it, you can make it an oval, you can make it look like this, you can make it look like a picture that's put on, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can play around with that. You can do those things, and then the last thing I want to mention is about headers and footers. Okay, sometimes on your slides you want to have something like the date, or maybe the name of your presentation, or you want the slide number. That's where you come over here to Insert, Header and Footer. And let's say that I want the slide number to show up on every slide. Okay, so that we can say, okay, which slide is this? And sometimes you want that. And maybe you want a footer. You want to say that this is Dr. Kirby's magnificent presentation. Okay, and I'm going to put that on all my slides, so I click Apply to All, and notice here it is at the bottom of every slide. Okay. So if I go here, there it is. It says it's slide 2. Next one is slide 3, and so on. So it puts the slide number in there automatically. You don't have to put the number in yourself. It just automatically counts it. If you rearrange the slides, it changes the slide number. Okay, now another little tip on that though, when we're talking about the header and footer, generally you don't want slide numbers and footers on your title slide. Okay, that's just kind of good style, so you can click here, Don't Show on Title Slide. Okay, if you do that, now the title slide doesn't have those down here, but the next slide does. So anyway, those are some things you can do, and that's what you'll be working on in this lesson with customizing your slide presentations.